Hi, it's Kamon Reynolds. Today we're going to be making this thick syrup feed. It's going to be honey thickness. We want to talk about it just a little bit on how it works. We're going to give you the ingredients and just the recipe on how to do it all. We're also going to talk a little bit about why we make it and the different ways that we use it. So as you can see, we're cooking it down right now. It takes a lot of work. This is going to take, to make it the quantity that we're making, which is over a gallon. It's going to take over an hour to make it. It might be a little bit quicker if you're in Denver or somewhere like that with a high altitude. But it takes a long time. I think this just goes to show you how impressive our honeybees are at taking nectar from the field that's thinner than what we're making and then inverting it into hydrating it down. In the way that we're making this, it also inverts it, which mimics what the bees do. Now, we are going to be putting a little bit of acid in there, as far as it's natural acid like lemon juice and cream of tartar, and that's going to cause it to invert. The bees have natural enzymes and stuff inside their crop that allows them to be able to do that to the nectar. We're not doing it because of pH issues. I get this question a lot. pH and my feed. Should I be adding vinegar to it? Should I be adding this or that to help acidify the feed? And I don't do that. I'm not concerned about that. If you research nectar, some nectars come in that are fairly alkaline, and a lot of them are around base. Now, there are some that are very acidic as well. Honey always ends up being fairly acidic, though, and that's, I think, primarily due to what the bees do to it. But I'm not adding this stuff because I'm concerned about the acid, and some people say that if it's, if don't throw that acid into your feed in the form of vinegar or whatever, then it's not as healthy for the bees. I disagree with that because I really feel like the cleaner the feed is, the better it is, especially for you northern beekeepers. We don't want anything in the feed that's going to end up being roughage, and there's a balance to it all. There's a lot of people that add stuff, and it's fine. But let's get to this real quick. We have some of our spring honey. We have some of our late spring honey, and then we have the finished product over here, which, while it looks similar, tastes nothing like the honey. This is some that we made probably 4 months ago, and it's very thick, just like honey. It has a lot of advantages over a 1-to-1 or a 2-to-1 feed, and that being, the bees don't hardly have to do any work to it at all. They just take it into their crop, they go to a cell, they deposit it therein, and they're done. Especially when you're getting close to winter and you're needing to put on a lot of poundage, this type of feeding is going to really be good for your bees because they just don't have to do a lot of work. They're not adding any moisture to the hive, and it's a little under 12 pounds to the gallon. So if you feed a gallon of feed, you're putting a lot of weight onto your colony. Now, this right here has been cooking for about an hour plus, a little bit more. And right now we are at 227 degrees. It needs to be at 230 degrees. So let's run over what we've done so far. You've got to have a pot that has a thick bottom on it. You can't have a really thin one, or you'll end up scorching the syrup. And you'll want to get your water in there, dissolve your sugar in there. Our goal is to get it at 230 degrees. And you'll get it really close, and then it'll stay there, and then it'll stay there, and then it'll stay there. And you're just getting all that moisture out of there, and you'll realize just how much work the bees do to get the moisture out of the nectar. It's really impressive, especially when you wait on this thing forever. But eventually it will get to 230 degrees, and that is the time that we want to stop cooking this, and it'll be fine. Now, it's going to seem really runny because it's so hot. The viscosity is going to change drastically as it cools down. So we're going to basically take 20 cups of sugar. We're going to take 15 cups of water, 2½ teaspoons of cream of tartar, 3 fluid ounces of lemon juice, and what's this 8th teaspoon down here? Is that anything?
Salt.
And an 1/8 teaspoon of salt. Got to ask the pro back there. By the way, as this bubbles and does all the stuff that it does, it shoots up tiny specks of sugar syrup all over your wife's stove. So it's best to ask your wife if you can do this first, or if you're a woman, you just do whatever the heck you want to. So Us men, we know how that works. But so, it's pretty easy. And I'm going to leave the directions in the description below so you can just read that off so you don't have to listen to me a couple times. As enticing as that might sound, you know, I don't want to, too much of a good thing is, you know, too much. You're laughing at me a lot back there. Alright, so why do we want to make this thick stuff? We talked about it a little bit. But these pollen patties, the new recipe, I'm loving them. And they're just so moist. This is about a week old. And the only thing that we've done is just keep it in a bucket with a little bit of saran wrap on top of it. But even after placing them into the hives, they stay moist so much longer because honey and this sugar syrup, whether it's pro-sweet or making this on your own, it's naturally hygroscopic. And that means it is going to pull water out of the air and it's going to get higher in moisture content. And eventually this will cause your honey or your sugar syrup to ferment, so you'll need them into a closed container, or they will eventually get too much moisture in there. It happens in honey quite a bit, especially if you leave combs, like say you pull the combs off of your hive and you leave them in a really humid room or something like that. The moisture content will go up over time. Now with small hive beetles you really can't do that for a very long period of time, but it makes really nice moist patties. I love that. Also we use it to make this queen candy, which I love this for multiple reasons. You can use it for a couple other things, but just using it for, oh that's thick, had it in the refrigerator. This queen candy right here though is just absolutely wonderful. We've got a video on that and the pollen sub as well. If you have any questions about that, I'll try to leave those below as well. And you can just plug this whenever you're doing an introduction or whatever. I mean, it's really handy stuff. So there's not a whole lot to it, but I find it really handy, and especially if you just have a few colonies, this is great. You can buy products like Pro Sweet and other syrups out there, and they work really good. For those of you who don't know, I ordered thousands of pounds of Pro Sweet this year. It's a great product, and for someone like me who doesn't have the time to literally cook down hundreds and hundreds of gallons of this stuff, you know, buying it is better. Plus, it's in Clarkson, Kentucky, so if you have a place to get it close, you can also get it shipped in, but it's like $60-odd for a 5-gallon bucket. That's a lot of money. This really isn't that expensive to do, it just takes a long time to do it. So if you have a couple hives, and especially if you have time during the winter, maybe you do this during the winter months, and just have that ready for your bees. Now, you don't have to feed your bees thick syrup like this all the time, but if you have it and you're wondering, well, it's thick, but it's not we're not going into winter, should I still use this product? There's no issue whatsoever feeding a thick syrup feed any time of the year. The only problem with feeding a thick syrup over a thin syrup, the only thing, in my opinion, is the fact that you can plug the hive quicker, just because, you know, it's more mass. I mean, so anyways, if you have any comments or questions on anything that we've done, just leave it in the link below. We're getting really close. We are, man, we're still like 2 degrees off. It just takes forever for those to cook out. But just be patient with it, and when we're done, we are going to have a good 1.5 gallons or so. I haven't measured it out yet, but it's going to be a lot of products, and that's a lot of weight for the colony. So anyways, any comments or questions, leave them below. Thanks for watching the video.